This is the Allison in Wonderland Mental Health Podcast with your host, Allison Fry.
This is the place that looks through the looking glass and falls down the rabbit hole while discussing mental health.
Join this journey that isn't just about putting mental health into a box that is only about anxiety, depression, or other common topics.
Allison in Wonderland is about everything that is in that box, as well as all of the things that don't quite fit into a box.
Here's your host, mental health advocate, Allison Fry.
Hello, everybody. This is the Allison in Wonderland Mental Health Podcast. I am your host, Allison Fry. I am not a mental health professional. I am an advocate for mental health. I absolutely love, eat, breathe, live mental health. And so the purpose of this podcast is to really dive into mental health as a whole. So luckily, we've received a lot of people have started talking about mental health more than they ever did before. We see people talking about anxiety and stress and mental health days, but there's also a lot of stuff that doesn't fit into that mental health box. So that doesn't mean we won't talk about those things, but we're going to talk about a lot of things. And so before we hop in and you get to meet our special guest today, I want to remind you all, I am not a doctor. I do not have a medical degree. I am not a mental health professional. If you are in a state of crisis, please call 911 or go to your nearest emergency room. And you can also call or text 988, which is the new suicide crisis lifeline. So with all the fine print out of the way, I would like you all to meet our special guest, Erica. And Erica, there's a lot about what you do that is super exciting, but tell us who you are so we know why you're passionate about the things that you do.
I am a love force with mysterious wisdom, celebrating life. I love telling people who I am because it has nothing to do with what I do, because I do a lot. And all of what I do is informed by who I am.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love when people actually tell us who they are, because and you can be like, I'm a mom, I've got these things and all these things, but it's like, who are you personally? Because that explains why you're passionate about the things that you're passionate about. So why don't you give us just a little bit of an overview of, what you're talking to us about today, and then we'll go through each step. I'm really excited about it.
Okay, yes. So I am what I said earlier, but I do coaching, counseling. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I also am an author. I am a mother. Yes. I am a digital nomad. I love moving around because it's tied to my values. And one of the most important values of mine is integrity and intimacy. And paired those together, it's important that leaders and individuals, counselors, whoever of authority, do no harm. It's so important that they do no harm to others. So that's what we're talking about today, how leaders can do no harm as they work and influence those who they serve.
I think that's really wonderful. I'm really excited for all of the listeners to hear really what you mean by leaders, because I know, like, even when you and I spoke before, I was just so surprised because even I had not thought about all of the people that really do have influence over our lives, that we need to make sure they're not doing harm, and also who we may be considered a leader to, and make sure that we're not doing harm. So I am very excited, and I'm really excited to hear about the Try-On philosophy.
Okay. Yes. All right. So leaders, let's talk about that. So when I look at leaders or leader, there's a different definition than to look up lead. So I like to look up lead. Lead says that you are the access to getting to a new place. You lead being the access, AKA the door for other people to move in various directions. And there is, and people say and have this word has a negative connotation to it, but there is manipulation in leading. It just matters on how you direct that. If you are leading someone towards what they want, they like, they deserve to have in their life, then guess what? That's positive and wonderful, and the way that it should be. Everyone needs those individuals in your life. But then if you are manipulating someone to do what you want them to do, right? Then that's not the right type of leading, and it goes into the do no harms realm of it. And so we can sometimes, as leaders, be biased towards things because of the way that we were raised, or we haven't done the healing that we need. And so we put people in boxes to limit how they want to live their life and the way that they would like to be influenced. So there's so many ways and people who are influencing us. So think about a leader as a person that influences, that opens a door, that causes change. And so that could be lots of people. It is your doctor, your financial advisor, your accountant, your pastor or minister, or anyone who is associated with any culture that has someone who is of authority, any authority at all, anyone who's supposed to have an expertise or has some kind of dominion over someone else, or has the image of having dominion over someone else, because most leaders should help individuals to learn how to think instead of giving them advice.
Right, absolutely. That's really cool. And I think that what's really neat about that too is that if you think about it, you know, people think of leaders and they're like, there's this hierarchy and it's kind of like an org chart. Well, leaders are not an org chart. I could be considered a leader in so many areas of my life that have nothing to do with a job or a hierarchy of any kind. But then also there are the people in my life that can be considered leaders that I just would have never thought about. I mean, I personally have learned over just years how to own the conversation when I go to the doctor, but people don't feel empowered to do that. People don't feel empowered to question if they're with the right therapist. And I think that that's a really important thing that you talk about, that I absolutely love, because I feel like when I tell people that, once again, I'm not a mental health professional, but I'm like, you need to find the right doctor. You can interview them, you can tell them what you like, what you don't like. But once again, that is my opinion based on my experiences. So it's really wonderful to hear that other people kind of are like, hey, you need to own this relationship and make sure that they're doing right by you because they are a person of authority.
Yes, definitely. Kind of going into the question that you asked as well about try on philosophy. So I've had that philosophy ever since I was in a household growing up, and my mother was I would have to say permissive in that she allowed me to do many things, and ultimately said that I was, and my brother and my sister were her slaves. And so part of me being her slave was we naturally do what we were best at. And I was very good at organizing and structuring and making sure things ran smoothly in her household. And with that, I said, I have to learn as much as I can in order to, actually do this job well. So I would go to the library and hang out there. And in that time, I developed this philosophy, which is the acronym for really understanding it is READ. So R, having the proper relationship, developing a proper relationship. A lot of people don't know how to develop relationships. Because most of the relationships that we have, it's not like anyone has specifically said, this is how you develop a relationship. Step 1, step 2, right? So I would love to let you all know, first, you have to be intentional about who you want in your life. That means that you have to know who you are, and who you are includes your values. That tells you if someone is for you or someone is against you, or what you like. What do you like to do? And hang out with individuals that do what you like to do and know what you like to do. And then also being intentional by setting a day and time to be consistent with that relationship and in that relationship. Now, if you do those three things, you should be able to build a relationship that suits you, that is a social support person in your life, so that you can have someone to kind of interact with. Also, exposure is E of the read, exposing yourself to as much as possible. One thing about reading is you get to go everywhere, wherever you want. Like, it's just, you can read and learn and grow with the characters that you read about. But also you have mentors and coaches and individuals that set you up in circumstances to expose you to the new way of, to even greater than you've ever experienced, and having benchmarks around you. So that just kind of goes back to the relationship piece. Then lastly, alignment, not lastly, but next is alignment, is you must be aligned with the right people. And alignment starts with you. A lot of times people talk about mindfulness and also being having the right mindset, but it's important that you know that you have the right whole body set, which means that you have in touch with your brain, your heart, and your gut instinct. All of that is aligned to choose the proper individuals to be in your life. And when you are aligned with someone who is for you and is part of your tribe and really care about you, it's like they call you when you're in a in a bind, and all of a sudden they call you and they're there for you. Like, you just somehow, they just knew, right, to be there for you. That's a true alignment when you're involved with someone. And then lastly is D, which is the do no harm. We have to find the right fit. How do we do that? We find the right fit by using our intuition, our feelings. Our feelings and our emotions will tell us everything about it. If it doesn't feel good, it's not good. Don't be in denial about it. We have to tell ourselves the truth about things. And when it doesn't feel good, get out of it. So you can actually ask individuals, your financial planner, your doctor, anyone, I want a try on session with you. I want time to try it on and see how it is. Give me 15 minutes. Give me some time to see. Give me a project to see. Even when you're going to working somewhere, I'm not sure about working with you all. Is there a project that I could do to see how I could fit into this culture? There's so many ways that you can apply the try on philosophy. And a lot of that is detailed in the book that I have, which is Be on Top. It's out right now. The digital copy for Black Friday is only 99 cents right now. And you can also get the the paperback for $6.99 on Amazon. It's called Be on Top. And it talks about the try on philosophy and actual practical techniques to use in order to apply it.
Yes, absolutely. And I will make sure that we link all of that information. I did read that book after we spoke the other day. And
you read it?
And the experiences that you talked about with your mother, I was just like, I could feel that because I went through those same things. And I'm really great at organizing. And one of my chores would always be to reorganize the hall closet, reorganize the pantry, reorganize the kitchen cabinets, do like all of the closets. And I feel like there are a lot of parallels with kind of how my mom ran her house is with and I just thought it was a really, I had already just absolutely loved you after we spoke. And then I read that and I was like, wow, I mean, this could be five other segments, me talking about my things. And I'm sure you feel the same way, but it is a wonderful book. I'm going to make sure that it's linked for everyone because it's amazing. And I didn't get a chance to get it to me in time after we spoke, so I did read it on my phone, but I was really excited about it, and it's great. And then the whole philosophy I think is really wonderful. If I can just share a recent experience with the try on and asking for someone to help. I'm super open, and the guests or everyone that listens to this knows that I am 100% open about my mental health. I do, however, feel like everyone should be in charge of their own mental health story. So I don't share the specifics about other people's mental health stories, but recently I was trying to help someone else find the right therapist, and I called so many therapy offices that would not speak to me. They would not let me have a 20-minute session to just ask the doctor questions, find out what they were about, because I wanted to make sure that this person I was working with got the absolute best fit when they started their mental health journey with a therapist. Because especially when someone, it's almost like people say, like, you're going to be an alcoholic until you realize and you accept, first you have to accept that you have a problem. Well, when someone finally accepts, okay, I'm going to be in therapy, and then they don't get with the right person, then it can set them 10 steps back. And if that try-on philosophy was adapted by all of our physicians, not just the mental health ones, I was calling everyone saying, just let me talk to the doctor. I will pay. You can bill my insurance. I'll pay flat up, like a flat fee. Just let me talk to them. And I really struggled. There were I sent messages to about 20 people, called those 20 people. I heard back from 2 that would actually speak to me. And I think that this philosophy, if we could get that out there to just the medical community, it would be amazing, because I just personally went through this with someone, and it is amazing to hear that you have already built it up as this needs to be what you do to protect yourself and to make sure you've got the right leadership in your life.
Oh my goodness, I agree. That's exactly why exactly why I wrote this book. I feel like it also helps the professional to be the best version of themselves. Because I know that every trial session that I've done, I've converted people to work with me. So it's also a way to convert someone to work with you without being salesy. No one wants to have this conversation with someone and then feel pressured to take what they're pushing at you. Well, you could do this, or you could do this, and then you get an email popping up. Think about this. But if I spent time with you and I really felt safe, and I felt what I need to feel in that space, in that time, you're going to say yes to the relationship. Yes, that's exactly what I would love to see happen. And I think that if we get more people to ask for that, I want a trial session. What's a trial session? Well, it's when I get 15 minutes with you. I don't want a consultation. I just want to know, give me the experience of actually working with you. What does that feel like? So that I can see. And if you're willing to give that to me, then guess what? I probably will say that already sets the tone for the interaction. If they're willing to put the money where their mouth is with it. Like, if you're really good at your craft and you hold the right energy, then you're going to find the right people for you as a professional. And you're going to also allow yourself to be seen as someone that's that really, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Someone that really is about being beneficial to individuals and not kind of slimy. I just noticed that there's a lot of slimy things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of part of that too is, like, if you talk about leadership and leaders needing to do self-work. Well, if you think about it and you look at that on the reverse side, if they're doing a try-on session, they're going to know if this person is going to be emotionally draining for them. I have made 3 different therapists cry in my life. I am sitting there calm as can be talking about my childhood, and they cry. Obviously, I was not helping their mental health, and they were not helping me. So, like, wow. When my memory it's a whole thing. But it would help for the leaders to help with their self-worth. Wow. If they know that this person is the right match for them, to, especially with, I keep thinking therapists, but this does affect like all doctors. But like, if you're going to be spending 50 minutes with someone on a regular basis, you need to make sure that you're not going to walk away from that just miserable. So the connection goes both ways, really.
Okay, so you're really talking about something right here because so at the mental health marketing conference where you and I met, right? We did the group therapy session, and you saw the therapists and the coaches. They talked about work stress and burnout, and everybody saw it. It was a demo on stage. Okay. After that, the therapist went, a lot of us went to the back in the green room, and we're having a conversation about this and all the horror stories that we have heard from people who have went to therapy and something that was not compliant, something that was not within our general rules, something that was not ethical, something that was just bad professionalism. All of this happened that then another therapist has to come in and actually help them with the trigger, help them with the trauma that happened, because that's a traumatizing circumstance. I finally went and pursued therapy for my depression that I've been having for years. And then I meet someone who tells me this is a situation that I experienced, a client telling me about, that they went in and they were so upset, depressed. The lady had their dog on the couch. She asked if the dog was going to move. And the lady said, no, the therapist, you can sit on the floor.
Oh my God.
She proceeded to sit on the floor to have a session, got up, and said that she was suicidal when she left. Okay. So we were talking, me and the therapist, and then we have decided, John Corday and I have decided we're going to probably put out a book sometime this year, 2023, called You Give Therapy a Bad Name, and to talk about these stories and talk about the compliance and the general rules that should be happening. Because I think that maybe somebody wasn't told something, and you could think maybe it's common sense, but common sense ain't common, okay? And I feel like we need to help the profession, all professions. You should have some kind of ownership in making sure the profession is represented well. And I truly feel like we're going to have to talk about some of the stuff that's happening behind those closed doors.
Absolutely. That is amazing. I can give y'all some personal experiences if you want to throw them in that book. I know that we had kind of talked about that before. I recently moved when my youngest graduated high school and moved to a farm in Kentucky. And it took me 20 years to find the therapist that was right for me. And I am just so blessed that she got licensed in Kentucky so that I could bring her with me through telehealth. So I definitely, I have been through, I've got a lot of experiences with some very weird, I had a guy fall asleep one time. I am definitely one of those that's like, and this is why it took me 20 years to find the right therapist. But there, luckily, with mental health being talked about more and online more, we can read profiles, we can get a lot of information. Hopefully, when people are making appointments, they could be like, hey, just so you know, this doctor's dog stays in the office. We do this cool, like, kick your shoes off, sit in the floor kind of thing. And that's the vibe. If that had been told ahead of time, then they could be like, oh, I'm not actually comfortable with that. And they could have been prepared going into it, because it's possible that that doctor did have some kind of like, this is just their vibe, and it needed to be communicated. If you're doing something, anything like really anything, I think the first,
I think anything. With me, I work with a lot of anxious clients. I work with a lot of high functioning anxiety, high functioning depression, and they don't have time. They don't have time we research everything. We want to know all the bits. So put all the bits out there. For whenever I work with clients, I say the first 5 sessions, this is what's going to happen. This, and this. I let them know. I give them the plan. They know exactly what to experience in every session. Yes.
That is amazing. And it also lets people have the opportunity to be like, well, when we come up to this, I've got questions.
Yes.
Or, I'm not sure if I'm even really comfortable. I know I've got trauma that I deal with. And it wasn't until 2 years ago when I started preparing for my empty nest that I even told the doctor that I finally said, okay, we can start talking about this trauma now, because I was super, I mean, high performing mom, can't risk falling apart because
Come
you're
on.
the trauma. And so, and then I also do the research, and I had researched that when you go through empty nest syndrome and you're not focusing on the baby birds, that's when your trauma attacks you.
You just read that hits. That's exactly what it is. I can't risk falling apart.
Mm-mm.
I can't. That is what. Oh, that hit. That was good, because that's exactly the issue that I had, and now I'm trying to train and help people to see that. Guess what? You should take this risk,
Right.
because with rest, rejuvenation, self-care, gratitude, and spend time with yourself, you don't have to do so much, because that's what my profile says on Psychology Today. You have done enough. It's time to be. It's time to feel the aches that you've been distracting yourself from.
Right.
And that's why I get the type of clients that I get. The high functioning need to understand, I need to rest. I need to rest because physically, my body is not well the way that it's supposed to be. I mean, there's so many signs that's telling me I need to sit down.
Absolutely. Like, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and my brain turns on and I start thinking of all the things I need to do. I could be in bed for 3 more hours, but it doesn't matter. My brain wakes up at 4:30. Now, I am definitely a morning person, because 4:00 p.m. is a rough time for me, but 4:00 in the morning, I am a rock star. So I absolutely understand.
I wanna tell you about something then. Okay, so I had a client today, and they were like, I need to get up at 6:00 in the morning. Everybody say you gotta get up at 6:00 in the morning or 5:00. And I said, is that what your body wanna do? Is that what you wanna do? And she goes, no. I said, so why do it? You gotta do what's best for you. I said, there's an assessment. I love this assessment. It's called The Power of When, WHEN. So you go and look it up, and you will find your chronotype. This was created by a sleep neurologist. I respect this so much because I used to work for sleep neurology, and I really understand circadian rhythms and having bedtime routines and those kind of things that we really need for ourselves, because most people, every person I've ever worked with, have a sleep problem, some kind of sleep problem. Anyway, so it teaches you exactly when, WHEN, to do the things in your life. For example, I'm a bear. There's 4 types, chronotypes, and you all go look it up. I'm a bear. I'm not awake until 10. I'm not. Okay. Before then, the best thing for me to do is exercise, because I won't talk myself out of it. Because once I'm highly working and functioning in my mind, I will talk myself out of it. So exercise is what I need to do. I'm not awake, so it's probably not good for me to really do anything like where I need to really use my mind until 10, until 2. And then at 2, a nap will be a good thing for me. Yes. And I actually do take naps daily, 1:00 or 2:00. Yes, there's a nap that's going to happen in my life, and they can be 20 minutes, and that's fine. But then I have creativity time from like 5 until 8, but at 11, it's time to go to bed. And he also talks about when's a good time to have sex, when's the good time to eat, sleep, all the things. He actually gives you a schedule.
I think that's interesting, because also then, like, what if your partner is a completely different schedule? Because trust me,
that'd be the problem in these relationships.
Right. Yes. I think, like, my husband's up until 4 a.m. working, and I go to bed, wake up at 4 a.m. I think that I wrote this down. I'm taking the test, and I also think I need to see a sleep neurologist, because the sleep obviously is a thing, but my body wants to be awake at 4:30. But at 8 p.m., I start to get a headache by 8 p.m. if I don't start winding down. Mm-hmm. And then, even if I'm out till 3:00 in the morning because we're traveling, I still have to have an hour and a half wind down to just calm my mind, regardless of how late it is, even though my body wants to be asleep by 10. And so I start that at 8:30, but no matter when we get home and do those things, I still have to do that. So, I mean, but I definitely know I need to work on my schedule. That is
That being up that early, that means you're a lion. Lions, and they tell you about what
I am a Leo.
characteristics. They tell you about the characteristics of this type. At that time, you get up at 6 o'clock, you're about done by 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So then be done by 2. Don't pressure yourself to not to be done later. Like, that's what's so great about this assessment for me. It was so great for me because it's like, oh, this solidifies all that I've been doing, and I'm not letting anyone tell me anything else. This is the way that's best for me. And we have to always get to the point where what is the best for me? What relationships, what times, what circumstances, and we cultivate our life that way so we can have satisfaction.
Right. Well, and I think what's really neat is even when you talk about your partners, I've worked at quite a few places where they use the Gallup strength finders, and they want everybody to know what everyone is and how they work together. But if you look at this and you're looking at it, how you work with your the people closest to you, it seems like that would really, like, my husband and I are both taking this like this weekend is happening.
Well, I'm glad that y'all got an activity. Yes, do that, because he sounds like a wolf, and wolves like to be up at late at night.
Absolutely.
And guess what the other one is a dolphin, and dolphins are always swimming, so half their mind is always awake, so they're very neurotic, and they only need a little bit of sleep, as not as much as any of the other ones. Yes.
And you know that there are some leaders out there that are thinking, man, I wish I could be a dolphin so I could get more done.
Yes, but you're not. You're a bear, so do bear-like things.
Exactly. But so that feeds into leadership and the self-work that they need to do on themselves to make sure that they are healthy. Because if we're not our best selves and we don't know ourselves, how are we going to help other people without pushing our stuff on them? I own my crazy. I don't want to give it to anybody else.
Yes. That is part of the development. I know people say leaders talk about reading, talk about professional development, personal development, and I think that they make it hard, and they make it that it's an academic activity that they go bring back to their teams, when it should be you really spending time with yourself. Like, what do you like? That's how I start most things with most people, because adults don't know what they like. When you ask them, they're not sure. They can't tell you. So then you can take the things that you like to create all of the different things that you need in your life. Now, if you have a circumstance where you are in a community and you're leading anyone, even your practice as a doctor, your practice as a therapist, really look at your practice. And if your practice looks depressed or if it looks anxious, it comes from the leader. Everything trickles down from the leader. So if you notice that your business is having problems, it's probably a personal problem that you have that you need to get some healing, see a therapist, work with a social support system, get the things that you need in order for you not to bleed on those who you're supposed to be serving. And that's the issue. A lot of leaders are not doing that really deep self-work, sitting down, being with themselves at least 15 minutes a day, doing nothing but recognizing what's going on in your mind, in your body, recognizing the feelings of your body. Do you know most people, I have my high functioning leaders, I have to tell them to make sure they go to the bathroom. If you feel like you have to, you need to go.
My husband yells at me all the time because I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I'm running from one Zoom meeting to the next, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Oh my gosh! I told people I feel like when everyone went to go remote, that I asked for a hall pass more than I ever had to again. And I started having to do time blocks because I'm hypoglycemic, and I wouldn't eat because people would just take over my calendar. And it's even funny, like, as you talk about this, I just had this conversation with my husband about, well, what do you like to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like that's a great question. I don't know. Like I've done all of my mom's stuff my whole
Right.
life. And now it's like, what does Allison want to do? I don't know. I got to figure that out. Well, and now there's a podcast. So that was one of the things I was like, well, I knew that during the second part of my life, I did want to focus on mental health somehow. And this is the way I'm doing it. But I definitely need to sit down and figure out what else. What do I want to do to make me happy? And I think that that's really important, because you do, especially with Zoom, when you're in an office, I think, people naturally get up and run to the restroom and go get something to drink. And if you're working through lunch, they order in food. But no one gets that grace time anymore when you're working remotely. And it is so stressful. And I'll get migraines and I'll be shaky and
Yes.
things because I don't get up and just walk around for 5 seconds, and you also don't get that chat time where you're also communicating just things that aren't constantly about work. When you're in office, and trust me, I love working remotely. I couldn't live in the beautiful paradise mountains of Kentucky if I didn't work remotely. It's wonderful, but I am a very social person. And that time to sit and chat or walk from one person's office or cubicle to another, that is something that I have to actively make sure I have little coffee syncs, Zoom calls with people, so that I still have that connection with the people I work with. And I think that I'm a little better about that than I am even about eating and going to the bathroom, just because I know I want to be close with the people I work with.
Oh my word.
You're like, Allison.
No, it's me too. It's me too. Listen, I just want to tell y'all, I know these things. I really work on them. Okay. It's a journey. I have to keep working on them. I know the right things. We all know a lot of the right things. One thing that I do most of the time with people that I work with is I say, you said that you want to, because you need the accountability partner of what they said they was going to do. And I'm here to make sure they do it. So I have many clients that message me. I did take that walk today. I go, hooray, because they need that, right?
Right.
I worked out today. Whatever they said that they wanted to do, they message me. I get tons of text messages, just my clients telling me they did what they said they was going to do. We need that in our lives. And I'm bad too. I was up. Let me tell you, Allison, don't tell nobody. Well, actually, everybody's gonna know. I got up at 4:00 this morning, and I worked on my newsletter that needed to go out. I had 2 tasks I said I was gonna do. I worked on my newsletter. I got it done, but I needed to use to the bathroom, and I said, I'm just gonna finish this. I'm just gonna finish this, and then I'm gonna go. I went afterwards. I don't know. I shouldn't be rewarding myself with potty breaks, but I'm doing that. We should not be rewarding ourselves with potty breaks. We should go when it's time to go, because it's supposed to be what was supposed to happen.
Exactly.
So I just want to tell you, it's me too. The reason why I know this so well is because it's a me too. It's a me too. I do this.
And okay, this is a secret. Obviously, I'm not going to tell anyone or any of the listeners, but obviously, but if everyone caught that, Erica is a bear who does not function really well until 10 a.m. in the morning, and you're up at 4 a.m. doing a newsletter. So obviously, leaders, because you're absolutely a leader. You are just such a, I am just so impressed. I am so glad that our paths crossed, because you are inspirational. Your message is beautiful, but then at the same time, it's like, look, you're saying the struggle's real. Even I'm struggling with it. I'm a bear. I know 4 a.m. is not my jam, and I still was up doing this at 4 a.m.
Yeah, because like you said earlier, my mind pops on and I'm thinking about all the things. I know what to do. You're supposed to do a brain dump. You're supposed to sit and you go, you gotta go to the potty because usually when you wake up, you gotta go pee. So you go do that, and
Especially
then
if
you
you've
come
had
back.
children.
When you come back, instead of getting to work, which is what I usually do, you're supposed to write down everything you're thinking and you download all that, and that will help you rest. I've told clients to do it, they've done it, and it worked. But it's I need to put my newsletter out. But today is Black Friday and I needed to put it out.
I love it. I love it. For anyone that's just listening to this, I feel like they're really missing out on not getting the facial expressions. Just like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but, and I mean, really, there's beauty in all of our imperfections, and you wouldn't know these things and be able to help people with them if you did not understand them and relate to them. So I think that that's, really it's important for people to know. I know that we talked a little bit, you mentioned that we need to trust our intuition, but I don't think we went really deep into that unless I got distracted.
Okay.
I told you this was going to happen. We're just going to be chatting.
It's so great.
People are listening and they're just like, Allison and Erica are just giggling, and that's what we hear.
Okay. Intuition. Okay. Let's talk about intuition. It's such a beautiful thing that we have. It's one of our superpowers, but it's also our intuition is tied to our emotions and our feelings. There's a difference between feelings and emotions. Feelings are like what you feel, like the temperature in the room and what your bottom in the seat, but also the normal emotions that you allow to show up in your consciousness. But behind your subconscious is all of the other emotions, and they're trying to tell you things too, but you're so accustomed to making them be exiles or making them or distracting yourself from them, or a part of yourself is critical about you having this emotion, that you don't let it come out. But like it's a knowing, this inner knowing that is telling you something. But what happens is, growing up, you had these knowings. As a child, you had it, but you also had a parent that wanted the things that they wanted when they wanted it and how they wanted it, and they were your leader. So you had to learn how to numb out that intuition in order to operate in the environment that you're in. So the goal is to always, which is why I talk about do no harm and try on. You keep trying things until you find the right fit, you find the right environment and people and circumstances that makes you feel safe, secure, and supported, enhanced. If it doesn't feel that way, listen to that. Move out of that into something else. Try something else on. Keep moving until you get the right fit. And the inklings are telling you. It's telling you. And you have to be when you spend time with yourself, you'll get more clear on those inklings that's telling you. You'll break down those barriers that's telling you that they're not right, and know that they are right.
I think it's really important. I always tell people I'm the baby whisperer. So I'm in a grocery store and every baby just tries to jump in my arms. And I'm like, I swear I'm not trying to kidnap your kid. Something about me, I don't know what it is. But so I thought that my intuitions, I thought that the reason I was able to read people was because like I just was like super in tune. And so I went and got a master's in forensic psychology. I was like, I'm going to go be a profiler and all these things. And it was funny because throughout the journey, could you imagine me being a profiler, the FBI or something? It was just crazy. But
no, I really could.
But I learned throughout the process that really it's that when children grow up in homes with mental illness, they become very aware of their surroundings because they have to walk into a room and read it. If your mother's bipolar, you have to walk into the room and know if this is a good day or a
Or
bad
bad.
day. Are we going on a shopping spree we can't afford? Or am I going to get tackled with a knife? Like those are the, like legitimately,
Serious.
those are the things. And so
Correct.
I think that,
Correct.
and you're right, but then like your parents try to like, they're like, oh no. And this is, I know when I was a kid, people are like, go hug so-and-so, give them a hug. And nowadays, I think people realize a little bit more like if a child doesn't feel like being affectionate, they don't have to be. But when I was a child, it was very much go give this person a hug. Make sure
just
you
brought
kiss
up something for
so-and-so
me.
goodbye.
Yes.
And that it just because that was the polite, sweet thing for the cute little girls to do. But if a child doesn't feel comfortable going and giving somebody a hug, they need to just be able to keep their space. And that's part of, you know, your parents imposing what they feel about someone, kind of squashing your intuition as a child. And that's, I think that's where a lot of danger happens. And then we grow up with it and we don't trust ourselves because we've been told not to trust ourselves.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we really talking about some things today because that's exactly what it is. Oh my word. Yes. It's we have to break free from our conditioning and the beliefs that were put into us that were our parents and our cultures, even our society's beliefs,
Right.
and decide what is the best things, the best fit, the best circumstances for ourselves. And this is not, I don't want to say it's not an easy task to do. That means that you're going to lose individuals. You're going to be alone for a bit so that you can gather up all of the people who will now understand that, okay, now I am this kind of person, and those people can see you. But when you're surrounded by this culture, society, these beliefs, no one can see the shining light that you are and what you're about until you shed all of that around you that doesn't fit, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, I swear it's like you're preaching to the cross. I just, the fact that our paths crossed, I mean, it is just so wonderful because this just, I get so excited about all of this. And I swear you're going to have to come back on for multiple other segments where we can just dig into each one thing for an hour because I feel like we really could do that. So I definitely, trusting your intuition is very important. I know I told you before, I don't want to make this be like a feminist women's only podcast, but then I do also feel it as a woman personally. Like if someone makes you uncomfortable, don't feel like, okay, I'm going to be insulting if I go my other way. Like know that you're uncomfortable and just go somewhere else and don't be worried about insulting them or whatever. Just listen to your gut. And I'm not saying that that is not a reality for men too, but I cannot speak for men because I have never been one. I can speak for women, not all women, but for me, how I have felt as a woman in the past where I don't want to be insulting, but someone did make me very uncomfortable. And I think that that's stop squashing our intuition. And that's a really important thing for people to learn.
You know, it's so important that, and that happens all the time. Like I remember I said society, you know, I mentioned that because that's part of our society, American society, if people are hearing this internationally.
Yeah.
And even internationally sometimes too. But women still now, it's not the safest circumstances for us a lot of times. Okay. That's why I keep saying safety, support, and enhancement. It's been more male leaders who have done harm to me than female. That's what it is. Now I can't say I've only had male, but it's been more because more men are in authority.
I've had women do harm while they're trying to like stick that stiletto in your back as they crawl up the corporate ladder, but not as
Ooh.
leaders, but just while we're supporting each other as women.
But then also there are women who the male will be doing something that's not the right thing. They know it's not the right thing. They don't say anything. about it being the right thing, or about it being the wrong thing to be and do. It just let it happen to people around them. And so I know that I'm an advocate. Harm cannot be done around me without me saying something. I will say something. I'm about that.
And I'm one of those that I'm you can open up to me and you can tell me anything. But if it's something that I truly believe needs to go further, like when I work as a manager, I will be like, I'm sorry, but I have to talk to HR about this. Like this person is sending you inappropriate messages. Like you can tell me anything, but when it gets to a point, and I feel like this is also like where therapists are, they're like, everything's confidential. But if you tell me you're going to go kill somebody,
yes,
I got to say something. So
I gotta.
Right, absolutely, because
Yeah.
you can't let something like that happen. And like that would do me harm, knowing that I let something like that happen without saying anything. So then that person's having harm done to them, I'm having harm done to me, and then anyone else that is affected by that person that is doing harm that comes into their path in the future, they could also, be hurt by them because no one stopped it. And I'm not victim blaming at all, but I'm saying that, it's one of those things where me personally, I will be the one that's like, this is going on. I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the one screaming from the rooftops if they don't feel like they're comfortable doing that. I have a feeling you are that person too.
I've been through some things. I got plenty of stories to tell. I have another book in me that's coming that talks more about the counseling industry versus the coaching industry. And so
I do have a segment that comes up from time to time called storytelling, where that really is what we do, where it's actually storytelling. So I'll have to have you back on and we'll talk. We'll do a story, because I have a feeling you and I could do a lot of stories.
Listen,
the books that are in me are my memoir, and then one that is also a segment of the show called Shit Not to Say. And it's about some of the just terrible things people say when you're grieving or things like that stick with you. Everybody's like, well, what do you say? Just keep your mouth shut if you can't think of something. That's why I tell them, like, if you don't know, just be quiet, but don't say these things.
I had a client. I love my clients. I want to say that.
I can tell.
If you are with me, you are my client. I love you and I think of you. So, but I have a client who's grieving right now, and he said to me, and I love how they help me grow too. He said that grief is love that has nowhere to go. And that has helped me to deepen my psychoeducation when I am working and helping a person walk through grief is, hey, where are you going to put that love? Where are you going to put it? Maybe that person lives in you now. Okay. So can you give love to yourself? Right. And it helps because we're supposed to give ourselves love. And this will help people to do that work because they're giving it to the person that lives inside of them now, that person is not a physical form anymore.
Right. Absolutely. And it's a whole other, there are probably episodes upon episodes that we could talk about grief. You and I are going to talk a lot. I can tell everyone, this is going to be a regular guest on the show. Just I do want to make sure that we touch on, really preventative care and spending time with yourself. Just really, I'm not on a timeline. We don't have to cut this right off, but I do want to make sure that I am being mindful of your time and that we go over the things that are just really so wonderful about you.
Okay.
That don't know.
So I have this thing that I created. I did a whole training on suicide and what to do and how to handle it and all the things when I was in university. And I thought to myself, why is it that we only have a safety plan if someone's going to kill themselves? So that's very reactionary. Well, why don't we have a plan to prevent suicide, panic attacks, anytime you're vulnerable, anytime you're triggered? how about we know these things about ourselves? Because most people are not. They just get triggered or vulnerable and they don't know that this is what it is. So how about we know what it is physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Because physically, my hands get sweaty. Emotionally, I start feeling fear. Mentally, I have racing thoughts. Spiritually, I feel disconnected. Okay. So I know these are the things that happen to me. I need to immediately go to my coping skills. Now, coping skills are actually self-care things. They're things you like. You know, a lot of people get kind of think that it's so much more than it's simply things you like to do. If you do the things you like to do, it ignites you.
Snuggling with
Especially if
cats. They lower my blood pressure. I've checked. When they lay on me and they purr, they lower my
do.
blood pressure.
They do. No, serious.
I'm being serious.
Okay.
I have to get some kind of like animal specialist psychiatrist on here to talk about that, because it's a thing. I know that the listeners know my entire journey with mental health started with the loss of my brother and then my mother as a result of suicide. So this speaks so true to my heart and my passion. And I am passionate about all of mental health, but that is what, and I say that's where my journey started. Obviously, I have childhood trauma and things, but I didn't even know about those things until I started trying to understand why I lost these people and what led to it and all of these things. And I think that it's true. Like I do work for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and we're definitely about prevention, but you know, what is our regular mental health care plan to keep us now? Okay, we know what to do when someone's on the ledge. How do we keep them from getting to the ledge?
I don't want nobody on the ledge at all.
Ever.
Like,
No one
can
should
we
ever
be
feel like they're yeah, no. There should be no ledge.
let me tell you how to keep ourselves off the ledge. First of all, knowing, okay? Knowing. Second of all, going straight to your coping. So when you're traumatized and vulnerable, you don't think clearly. It's just you're not going to be able sometimes to think clearly, but you will remember to call your friend. Okay? You will remember to do certain things that you always do, but if you would call your friend, that's why you need a social support system. They're going to hold you accountable. And then also they'll be watching you. They'll know your triggers and say, well, you've been distant lately, or you've been blah, blah, blah. What's going on? Like, so then having people who are on your social support system, these are fans, individuals who know your strengths, your weaknesses, they understand. That means you have to be open. You're going to have to share what those things are with people and allow them to support you. Then a lot of people say this, and I have to say this. Oh, I don't want to be a burden on anyone. No, your people are always there for you. They don't have, it's not hard for them to do that. They're probably helpers too, and they love helping people. And that's part of what they enjoy doing. So let them, you have to ask for help and let them be there for you. You deserve it. And you can use the Thrive Plan. That's one thing that I have is where it spells it all out. It's a worksheet, and I give it to my clients, and I give it to them 2 months later, and you can see the difference in the sensitivity of their triggers, more coping skills, and a more attuned social support system, because people are not going to be able to take this role. They're not going to be able to.
Well, and some people can't. Some people,
yes,
they've got to figure out how to carry their own things before they can help carry someone else's. And
yes.
So some people just cannot do it, but you find the people that can. And I think that that's really great. I also know that we wanted to talk about spending time with yourself. I am the worst about this. Every time I'm at a work thing where they're like, we're going to do guided meditation, I'm like, I'm going to go fix a cup of coffee. Really? I am so bad, because just I have gone to like yoga classes that are really just meant for mindfulness, where you're basically just laying there and the whole time my mind's like, and I need to do this and this and this and this and this. So just
Oh,
chilling and spending time with myself is probably something that I am the worst offender about. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear how you explain to your clients, like, spend time with yourself, and this is why it's a benefit for you and not a chore.
now I have to tell you, I got this one down pat, okay? Because so I'll tell just a quick little story. I almost got kidnapped trying to be a therapist. Okay. So I went to see a therapist to help me to walk through that trauma. And they told me to be with myself for an hour. And I said to her, "You want me to implode, don't you? Like, I think you just against me. You want me to implode."
Mhm.
So I waited the hour before I was supposed to go back to see her, and I did it in the car.
That is so what I would do.
Because we gotta do what we said we was gonna do, but this is hard now.
And if you fall apart, you're already in the parking lot at their office.
So I did it. And I told her about the experience. And I know this is what I learned from it. I will never ask anyone to do an hour of that ever, especially starting off. But it definitely was a challenge. I tell people 15 minutes. I love it. I feel like I can't get enough of it now because I've spent time there. That your inner world is all for you. It's meant for you. It's like a whole celebration going on, saying, "Hey, we love you. We want you. I mean, it's all about you once you get in there and spend time with it. But the thing is, we're so accustomed to looking outside of ourselves, helping people outside of ourselves, getting distracted, all these things going on outside of ourselves, that then we're afraid of our inside of ourselves.
Yeah.
But me, let me tell you, I got red dragons flying around, fairies, honey, tribal dances going on. I have a nice palace. I have a throne I sit on. I have the most luxurious outfits, and I'm just sitting there eating grapes. I got these. Listen, in my
When
in
I
a
visit,
world,
I mean, come on.
in my inner world, I got unicorns, alpacas. Listen, it's just so amazing.
My cats are lions and tigers.
Okay. It's amazing. And you know what it doesn't sound like the thoughts of a child. And that means that, guess what? We are still very much needing to spend time with our imaginations. What heals us is our creativity.
That's
I
true.
gotta say that one more time. What heals us from everything is our creativity. So when you get to daydream about things and create things and be excited and be excitable, if you all haven't noticed, I'm very bubbly and I'm very childlike. I love it. I enjoy it. I am specialized in play and expressive arts therapy because I just see how play, having fun, enjoying life is the best kind of life that I want to have. And I feel like other people can have that. I live that truly. And I know that I like this because I spend time with myself. And I'm saying just 15 minutes. I know it's hard. Whenever I tell clients to do it, they're like, "Man, I get so many epiphanies. I learn so much about myself." I, I, it's, if you do this, it will change your whole life. It will change it. People around you, you'll notice things about people around you because you're stopping and you're accessing all the things that's coming up. So you have those whispers of all those 3,000, 5,000 emotions that want to spend time with you that you have not given time and energy. They're going to say, "Oh, they're sitting still now. I'm going to come talk with them."
I'm picturing the Inside Out characters right now.
Yes. But it's like 5,000 of them now. They only show 5. No, they're all over. There's some exiles that you don't put off onto its own island and you won't let come over, and they
Yeah,
keep
it's all
slipping over
dark and
anyway.
sad. It wants to come
Yes.
down. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Got the ones that's running in and trying to stop the exiles. It's a whole scene.
It is. That's amazing. I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to sit down and see if I can spend 15 minutes with myself. And I imagine my world's probably now going to be Pixar looking, because that is the way I envision it. Mila, let's let Joy come in and have a moment, and let's have Disgust come in and have a moment. I know Anger is going to come in and have his issues. So I absolutely I think that's really, it's great advice. I think that there's so many things that we've talked about that I'm like, yes, that's something I do. And then we got to that one on the list and I was like, I am the worst. It's good. And it was one of those things, kind of like how we talked about how you tell your patients, like, these are the things we're going to go over for the next 5 weeks. Well, I asked you for the points that you wanted to go over, and I was telling you, then you're like, okay, well, they can say, well, this is something. And I knew, looking at these points, I was like, I cannot give a good example of doing that because I am the worst at it.
You know what? It's what this is a practice. People ask me, how do you meditate? That's how I meditate. I just turn off. I mean, when I say turn off, not numb out, there's a difference. People numb out. I just explore and discover more of who I am, and it opens up and opens up and opens up and expands, and I get to have everything that I want there. It's magical there.
It's really exciting. I mean, I really feel like all of the messages that you've brought, and just from the conversations and from meeting you, well, I was virtual at the conference, but that whole thing, that just, it's all so beautiful. It all just ties in so much. I think that it's important too, because, you know, we do think about, obviously, therapy for like the individual, and that's in, you know, there is just, and this is kind of the out of the box thing where we're talking about stress and anxiety, but when you have these high performers and these leaders, there are things and tools that they need that may differ from someone that is not in that position. Though I imagine everyone is in some position of leadership in their life at some point or another, but it's just, it's amazing that you are doing this out of the box thing, which is what I really love, because it's things that even I haven't thought about. And I'm like, I think about mental health all the time, and I really enjoy everything. I'm definitely going to look into the power of when, and see what, you know, if I am a lion, which it sounds like I am, exactly what that means. Make my husband take the test too. I'm going to make sure that the links to the resources for people to get in touch with you, for your website, your book, and everything are included online. But is there anything, I just have like the notes from when we chatted before. I want to make sure, is there anything else you want to share, like anything?
Oh, I just want to share that it's important that you curate the experience that you want in your life for satisfaction. Every day, wake up in the morning and ask for yourself to be satisfied. Ask yourself, am I satisfied throughout the day? And if you're not, do something about it. You have the keys. You have the power. Actually, the number one leader is to be able to lead yourself. So that's another reason why I talk about leading and you being a leader, because the goal is lead yourself first before you lead anyone. And you lead yourself first by being with yourself, trying things on, having good relationships, exposing yourself to wonderful, amazing new things, having alignment, and being adamant about doing no harm to both yourself, because we are harming ourselves because we be the problem, and not doing harm to others. So if you want to reach me, please reach out. You can book a session, 15-minute trial session. Just come spend time with me at www.yourgoalconcierge.com. Book a session, you know, see how we can collaborate. We can just have a conversation, just, you know, experience the energy of me.
Well, that is so exciting. I'll also make sure that there are links to everything in here, and I am so grateful for you coming on the show. I just know that you're going to have to come back many, many more times, because You're just wonderful to talk to. I love your message. I mean, like, it makes my soul happy to hear you talk about.
Oh, thank you.
I am so grateful that you've come on my show that no one's even heard about yet, because I'm all about getting it prepared, being super A-type prepared before we actually launch it. So I am so grateful that you came on and that you talked to me, and I just really appreciate it. So I will make sure everyone can get in touch with you. Erica is a rock star, everybody. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm a rock star, but now I'm like in awe. I'm like, I want to be like Erica when I grow up. In my mind, I'm like, there are so many takeaways that for me are amazing. And I've already talked to you about some of these things. So even takeaways after talking about it before. So I am really excited. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.
Also, remember, this show does not contain medical advice that you should follow without speaking to your doctor. If you or someone you know is in crisis, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. You can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.